The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
Well,
And we're back.
we're back. Yeah,
For a little while, at least. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how long.
well, Monday we're not going to be here, right?
Monday, we're not going to be here. It's a holiday. But, while you were away, Chip, of course, the city went on without you.
Well, everything goes on without, nobody is indispensable. We know that.
And what a joke that RDA meeting was, I'm telling you. Number one, they filed this whole thing, and they missed the filings. They missed all the legalities in the filings that could be done. They missed the legalities in the executive sessions. They missed the filing on the open meeting law because they didn't list the names of the candidates. Nobody knew what the names of the candidates was. And then even in the RDA tape, if you watch it, the RDA didn't introduce the person who got the job. Nobody knew what her name was because she had to introduce herself. I mean, this is the group of people we have that are making these decisions. This was a joke.
Well, yeah. Well, it's a joke anyway because we've hired a new economic development director to develop the economy in a city that. What are you going to develop? We're going to turn the city pier into an entertainment venue. Yeah, sure. On the way to the Cape or to Newport, we're going to stop at the Fall River. What are we going to put the Derby horses up there? I mean, look, listen. We've got so many problems, so many issues in this city. This is never going to be a tourist attraction. This is another political con. All they ever do is con the people. Now supposedly this is an attorney. I don't know what kind of attorney she is if she's got to take jobs that are making, as economic development director. So I guess she's not making a lot of money as an attorney.
Well, Ken Fiola was an attorney too. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, but Ken Fiola was making a lot more money than that. He was making well over 150 grand. I mean, to go on a 200 grand. Plus, he was doing his work. Now, she's going to be a full-time economic, and believe me, it's like a double full-time if you're trying to develop the economy in Fall River, which you can't because we don't have people with money to buy anything, and we're not going to attract tourists because we have it's a disaster. And look, this is whole exercise and dance of the chickens just irritates me, and I have my Spindle City jacket on today because it's like a meat locker in here. I guess they're testing the air conditioners because it's cold. But then again, I just got back from a place where it's 92 and humid. So, this is ridiculous. Look, another. You know that this is somebody who knows somebody.
Well, obviously, because they had made the decision to hire her before they even went into executive session to interview her.
And where did she work before?
New Bedford. She was the regional.
And where does the mayor's father work?
He works at a bank in New Bedford, I think.
What's the name of that city again?
New Bedford.
And what's the name of the city she works in?
New Bedford.
Oh, okay. Just checking. That's all.
But the thing is that she came here, and she's worked with Fall River before, because she worked with Mass Development, and she was responsible for the entire region.
And
now
look at the great job they did then.
Well,
look how well developed we are.
Part of her claims to fame is everyone takes this, the South Coast Marketplace. She said she had a say in that, and she had a say in this and these other things. And the problem I have is, in her public interview, she said how much Fall River is, wonderful, and it's got something in the works, and we're going to make it happen. And
yeah. And when is she moving here?
She's not.
She's from Cape Cod.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always wonderful. It's talk about, it's beyond Pollyannish. It's all political rhetoric. Everything's wonderful here, but I live in Cape Cod. Everything's wonderful in New Bedford, but I live in Cape Cod. It's beautiful here. It's we have no problems at all. Well, guess what? You know, we
Just
know.
don't bring it to Cape Cod.
We know exactly what is going on here. This is more political people getting political jobs and getting money. And so somebody knows somebody, and we're going to do. Forget about job development. Forget about educational development. Forget about developing something that will actually create an economic base in its community. Not for the businessmen, who most of whom live out of town, but for the people of Fall River, a tax base. People that come in, earn a living, have money to buy things which will bring small businesses back to this community in spades. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the city pier into an entertainment venue. And who's going to be entertained there? People can't pay their rent. What are they going to do at an entertainment venue? You think tourists are going to say, well, you know, instead of going to Newport and looking at the mansions and the 12-mile drive and the Tennis Hall of Fame and on and on and on, and Brick Market and the Brick Alley Pub and all the other places in Newport, wander around with the Great Gatsby ghosts. No, or go down to the Cape and with the Kennedy compound and all the other Cape Cod that's been memorialized in movies and songs and everything else. No, let's stop in Fall River that has the best drug rehab in the state of Massachusetts and the most per capita drug addicts and one of the highest crime rates, and was voted the second most dangerous city in New England and the most dangerous city in the Commonwealth. Sure. Let's not develop our workforce. Let's not develop our economic base. Let's develop this city while I collect my paycheck.
Well, here's the interesting thing. You spoke about the city pier and making a entertainment venue there. Number one, the pier is not completed, and they've already granted a license for this entertainment venue. This entertainment venue now has to apply for a liquor license, a seasonal liquor license, so they can serve beer, wine, everything else. And you'll never guess who will own this entertainment venue.
Educate me.
Jazel Correa's girlfriend's father. The same guy who bought the old Townhouse Clubhouse on Purchase Street.
And got a liquor license. You know, purely coincidental.
Pure coincidence.
Absolutely coincidental. Right? Yep.
Now, here's the other big thing that they didn't consider when they said we're going to grant this entertainment license. Where's everyone going to park? There's no parking down there. Where are they going to park?
In the Taunton River.
You know, they're going to park along 79?
We're going to make a parking garage on a pier at the Taunton River.
The city got $2 million to build a parking garage on the waterfront, so we'll see what happens with that.
There you go.
But the thing is that where are they going to park? On Route 79? So they can get hit by a car?
You mean all 12 customers?
Right. You know? And the worst part about it is they granted this license without any costs or fees. They should have attached a monthly licensing fee, and they should have taken a percentage of sales off the top. Yeah, it may not have been much for Fall River, but guess what? That's the way business works. But Fall River needs to get out of the real estate business because they can't do it.
No, they granted it without cost, like they grant TIFs, like they grant everything else to their political friends and allies and relatives, because they're politically connected. Everybody else has to get their fees increased. The taxpayer has to get hammered again.
Which we're going to.
That's the way we do business. And, you know, look, this is a joke. It's an absolute joke, but I got to get into this because I looked at this, and as soon as I picked it up, as soon as I walked in, I mean, Prop 2.5 override disappearing, but taxpayers still pay, by Eli Sherman and Wicked Local. And you know what I got? It talks about the weather is warming, flowers are blooming, and municipalities across the state are hosting town meetings form of local government dating back, which historically has given residents the opportunity to help decide on various issues related to local governance and spending. But then he goes on to talk about the higher taxes, and it talks about Prop 2.5 overrides disappearing. They found a euphemism for 2.5 override, which they initially are. And this is the thing that caught my eye. Quote, initially, I thought it was bad budgeting, unquote, said Chip Ford. There must be something about that nickname Chip, or maybe that's his real name. They must be all, you know, iconoclasts and radicals. Executive Director of Citizens for Limited Taxation based in Marblehead, which is a very, very rich community, in case you don't know Marblehead. Now, here's another quote. But now I think it's evolved into a way to spend more money than what's available by letting problems develop until they reach crisis level and then going to the voters for more money. Does that sound like a debt override to you, CJ?
Sounds like Durfee High School to me.
It sounds like Durfee High School, every other municipal building, every bond we've ever taken because of lack of maintenance. And then he's got a nice little bar graph here. But it is Prop 2.5 overrides fall, exclusions rise. Debt exclusion, which is another euphemism for an override, but it's a specific override. So, again, they can't stay within their budget. Cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth cannot stay within their budget. They continue to spend money. And, you know, I had a conversation with someone from another state about this, about the disappointing way government acts. And she was mystified to hear that when I said, well, you know, you can't blame government. You allow them to do it. You give them Sahara, they run out of sand. Why do they run out of sand? Because you let them. We continue to re-elect these people and allow them to run your city, your state, your federal government in exactly the way they want to do it. And you pay. And then you complain. Well, until we throw them all out, not keep mine and throw yours out. Clean house. Get the broom. This is going to happen. But it's nice to know that we have not been urinating in the wind by talking about this for a very, very long time. See, they've caught up with it. They've caught up with it. They're beginning, the rest of the state is beginning to realize what we knew long ago on Spindle City Straight Talk and in the city of Fall River, that they've never seen a tax increase or a fee increase they couldn't pass, or a TIF. And they love to spend money. They never saw a pay raise they couldn't give to their friends.
Well, here's something now. Imagine for 1 second, if the citizens of Fall River, and I mean this is something you really have to imagine because it would never probably happen, could get together and do a Prop 2.5 underride.
That's true.
And take $5 or $10 million out of the budget.
Yep, just chop it right out of
Just chop it right out of there and see what happens. Find out how much each year that debt exclusion is going to raise the taxes and go in and chop that out.
Yeah.
Because the city knows they can afford to pay it.
And you're 100% right, CJ, because, you know, it's like when little Johnny keeps asking you for a ride and he expects you to be a taxi cab to everywhere and you get tired of it. And then somebody finally figures out that if little Johnny really wants to get to where he wants to go, he'll figure out a way to get there. And if he doesn't figure out a way to get there, it's because he really didn't want to go badly enough. Because I've always found when little Johnny doesn't get their way, if they really want to do something, they'll do it.
They do it anyway.
They'll find that they actually have things called buses and cabs, and they have friends they can call who are going to the same place that you don't want them to be. Because this is the problem with government. They never have to be, they're never denied. They refuse to be denied. They're not little Johnny, they're big Johnny. So the taxpayers said to them many, many years ago, you will not spend or increase more than 2.5%. And every year after that, they found new and better ways to not be constrained by Proposition 2.5. And now it's gotten to the point where virtually Proposition 2.5 overrides cannot be carried with the voters. So what do? They get debt exclusions. And here's the proof again. It's happening all over the state. They cherry pick their little projects, and then they parade all the little Johnnies. Oh, we need a new school. Forget about the fact that nobody maintained this school. And they show the pictures of how deplorable the school was. And everybody forgets that they had a maintenance budget. They had someone who was being paid to be in charge of maintenance. The city has a maintenance division, and by ordinance, they're required to maintain buildings. But they show you how they didn't maintain buildings. They show you pictures to get more money from you. And rather than doing the right thing, most of the voters go, oh, the poor children, it's terrible. Well, okay, build them a new school, but make that be the last one if they don't maintain it. Did they ever ask who was the superintendent of maintenance during those times? Did anybody look to recoup all their salaries? And if you get a construction company that doesn't do their job, you sue them.
Not Fall River doesn't.
Not in Fall River. They just and what is that? I'll read that again. But now, he said, initially I thought it was bad budgeting, but now I think it's evolved into a way to spend more money than what's available by letting problems develop until they reach crisis level, then going to the voters for more money. Well, there you go. They do it every single time. And every time they go, I never saw a TIF I didn't see. They don't tell you at the end, this is going to go into your tax rate. Every time we give them a tax break, that goes into the tax base, and you have to make it up. Every time we reduce the business tax under the guise of helping them run a business in a city they can't run anyway because nobody can buy their products, it goes into your tax factor. You have to make up the revenue. And if we can't make up the revenue, we'll get a debt override. So when are you going to wake up? And that's what disturbs me because, you know, these things they're appalling. They're appalling. But the thing is, who is responsible? The voters. They keep them in. Where are the people with the pitchforks and the torches? At school committee meetings about maintenance. Where is the monthly report at the school committee meeting about what maintenance is needed and what maintenance needs to be done in the future? Where are those reports? Is that an integral part of a school committee meeting? Not to my knowledge. And I know it's not an integral part of the city council meetings because I watch the council meetings most of the time.
As you pluck the pins out of your eyes.
Yeah, but I watch, and I'll admit it, CJ, you're right. I don't watch it in its entirety. I have to watch it in small pieces because
so do I.
I got the hammer near me so I can hit myself with a hammer in between. But, you look at this stuff and you see how many buildings have we seen? Total disrepair. We need to get a bond issue. Can we go back and say, well, when this roof started leaking 17 years ago, did we fix the leak properly? Why was it leaking a year later or 2 years later, and then now the whole building's gone? Why did we continue to put flat roofs on the Globe Fire Station and spend virtually millions of dollars over the course of the time? That's an older station, when all we had to do was put a little pitch on that roof, because flat roofs are notorious, especially publicly funded flat roofs that have never done right. But no. But is it the city's fault? No, they don't care. The only thing they care about is payday. Here comes the paycheck, everybody. Here it comes. Thank you very much for the pay. And we don't maintain the buildings. We've got people being paid to maintain those buildings. We've got city councilors and mayors who are supposed to be overseeing our city property, and it doesn't happen because their philosophy is just that. And I'll read it again. Letting problems develop until they reach a crisis level. Does it sound familiar? When was the last emergency we saw going before the city council that we didn't have some form of threat to get it funded? How many times have we heard, if we don't do this, we're going to get fined. If we don't do this, we're going to be, oh, the building's going to collapse. If we don't do this, you know, the city will be swept by bubonic plague or something like that. And then all the city councilors whine and complain and wave their arms and do what they have to do, and then they vote for it. And in November, you go back and you put your check mark. Oh, yeah, he's a friend of mine. He lives next door. He lives a block away. Yeah, oh, I know his cousin. Okay, let me vote for him too. I don't care if he spends every dime I got. Give them all a pay raise. $40,000 pay raise, who cares? $20,000, who cares? Pay the police, nah, make them go to arbitration. Whose fault is it? You elected them.
But give huge pay raises to other city workers. Yep. And, you know, I hear all the time about, you know, 0, 0, and 1, 0, 0, and 2.
Yeah, for workers.
Yeah,
for the peons.
For the peons, right. You know, 0, 1, and 1. You know, I hear this all the time, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They just gave 14% to the fire department. You know, what the hell?
Yeah, and they gave, they gave 20%, you know, 20% to one, and like over 50% to Mary Sahadi. She was making 80. She got 40.
Yeah.
So 50% pay raises and stipends that are basically more than one. $10,000 snow stipend. I mean, and a $5,000 stipends are common. They're not like $500 stipends or $100 stipends. We're talking thousands here. You know, a $10,000 stipend for snow. How much snow do we have this year? Is it predicated on the amount of snow and how much they shovel? Oh, then again, Mark Monroe Dion did say he saw the chief of staff shoveling snow in front of his house. I know he was being facetious, but look, again, CJ, what do we always say? Follow the money, and who's to blame?
Yeah.
Who's to blame? The voters. City of Fall River, we have an election coming up.
Big deal.
Well, unfortunately, that's true, but we should make it a big deal. Let's get some candidates out there who will run on fiscal responsibility, on not spending the money like it's a never-ending fountain, because that's what we are. When you go to the city council meeting, they look at you and what you have on your forehead is ATM. That's where we get our money. And even though we've elevated it to an art form in the city, it's happening throughout the country and obviously throughout the state, because I was, you know, I came back from Texas and I saw this, and by the way, it was very educational down there in many ways. I saw a lot of talk about homeless problems and talking about people with.
I saw some of those pictures you sent me.
It's a border state. Literally, it's in the capital of Texas. There was somebody passed out on the sidewalk every 10 feet in an area a block away from the hotel areas that in the capital of the state. And I asked somebody, and they said, yeah, they have a tremendous homeless problem. Apparently they don't do much about it. I didn't see anybody getting, they were passed out sleeping. I did send you some pictures.
Yep.
It's staggering when you see that. And I've been to a lot of major cities in this country, a lot of major cities even in Europe, and I've never seen anything, that pronounced. And obviously, they have them everywhere, but most of the time they move them out to the peripheral areas of the city. But I guess Austin chose to leave them in one district that's, I don't know what they call it, but it's like there's a whole bunch of restaurants and music venues, and supposedly somebody said, well, that's the area, and they actually allow them to, just stay there. They just everywhere. I mean, not one or two. I mean, literally, the first block I walked after getting a block away from the hotel, the first block I walked, there was 7 passed out on the sidewalk at 1:30 in the afternoon, the first day. Then I went up to that other area, which I didn't know was like that, and there were literally hundreds of them. Hundreds, not 1 or 2, hundreds. It's something to, it was really startling because it's the capital city of the state of Texas, and it's kind of like, it takes you aback to see that they would even allow that. I think you would say, well, we've got a problem, but let's try to deal with it and get these people somewhere. But then someone at the hotel told me there was a gigantic Salvation Army facility fairly close, and I guess they gravitated toward that facility. But I've seen a lot of things, and I've been in a lot of places, but I'll tell you, I've never seen anything like that. I have to say that I never saw anything to that degree. I know that San Francisco has a tremendous problem too, but
Yeah, in San Francisco, they all live around Golden Gate Park.
yeah, but see, that's not in the.
It's not down by the wharf.
Yeah, it's not down by the wharf and
Right.
more of the tourist attractions. This, as I said, it was startling because that area, if you Google 6th Street in Austin, there'll be a big list of restaurants and music venues and stuff like that, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of these people there, and it's something to see. It's not a really good sight, but it just goes to show. And of course, Texas is a border state, so I'm sure that the drugs are very, I mean, they're pretty, they're pretty available here. We know the availability in Fall River. They migrate up here, but I'm sure over there, and you can see what it does to it. I don't know how they set it up, but.
It's, and here we are complaining about a couple of panhandlers.
Yeah,
on a few streets.
that was my thought. And the thing, I talked to a few police officers this morning at a meeting, and I told them, actually showed them a couple of pictures that I sent you. And I told them, I said, I was amazed there were virtually no police presence down there. I didn't see a walking beat, didn't see a police officer. I saw one patrol car in 4 days down there. But when you get out to the other outline, they have a high police presence. So I guess their tactic was to just let it alone, just leave them there, I guess.
And I mean, what's their crime rate like? That's something we should take a peek at. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe they're doing something right that we're not doing right.
Yeah, they kind of just let them stay in, like they do in some places, just leave it. But they weren't aggressive. I say that. Most of them were passed out.
Right.
But they weren't, they weren't aggressive or anything. And and there were a lot of tourists down there. But it was eye-opening.
Well, thanks for watching. We're back. We'll see you next Wednesday because Monday is Memorial Day. Enjoy your long weekend.
And
Have a
remember-
great day.
And remember what Memorial Day is about.